Citizen FM 93.7. This is the fun-packed radio show you heard about. Did you miss any one of our programming today? Join me, Diddy, from the Citizen Pot when we run through our programs from sunrise. Stay abreast, get informed on news roundup. It even gets better. Do you think you know Nigeria? Answer 3 questions correctly and be one of our daily winners on Quizzes. It is the full package. Let's take you back, way back on African vibes. Let's celebrate the African people, the rich cultures across borders, the languages, the good food, and wealth of excellence on African vibes. Join me every Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. It is on Citizen FM 93.7.
In line with our mission for development journalism, Citizen FM 93.7 presents Citizen Speaks. Citizen Speaks is a program that serves as a platform where the government meets the governed. It is a general-purpose hourly interactive program which focuses on the key sectors of the Nigerian state, including the economy, governance, security, religion, socials, transportation, health, military-civil relationships, intercultural relationships, and humanitarian services. Join us every Tuesday at 2 p.m. for Citizen Speaks and interacts with policymakers, technocrats, public servants, corporate individuals, members of the Federal Executive Council, heads of public institutions, and other issues affecting their well-being and nation building. Don't miss Citizen Speaks, only on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. It promises to be a listener's delight.
When you are young, life is so exciting. But what happens when you get older? Things start to slow down, and that is the wrong time to be broke. Everyone aspires to work and retire well, but millions of people just aren't saving nearly enough to give them the standard of living that they hope for when they do. But a pension plan makes up for this by providing financial protection when your energy is not what it used to be. You worked for your pension. Now your pension will work for you. Trust Fund Pensions Limited presents The Pension Pot. Listen to The Pension Pot and learn all you need to know about organizing your finances to live a rich, full life well into your latter years. Join me, Stanley Bentu, on The Pension Pot, as it comes your way every Wednesday at 2 p.m. only on Citizen FM 93.7. Trust Fund Pensions Limited is here to help you manage and grow your retirement savings so you remain prepared for uncertainties and are able to fulfill your post-retirement aspirations. The Pension Pot. Don't miss it.
Well, good morning, Abuja. This is Citizen FM 93.7, and you're listening to the Super Citizen at Sunrise. Well, the time is 6:38. Today is the 17th of February, 2023. Yes, another month is very quickly running by. It wasn't very long ago that we were saying Happy Valentine's Day to everyone, and now we're looking at the 20th of the month, which is coming in a few days' time. 2023 has been quite a challenge. Anyway, my name is Stanley Bentu, and I will be your companion starting from now until 9 a.m. on this program today. And I want to begin by letting you know everything that will be happening on Citizen FM on this 17th day of February 2023. Well, everything as usual begins with the Super Citizen at sunrise, which starts at 6:30, goes all the way to 9 a.m. And I will tell you more about that in a few minutes. But before I do that, right after I leave the studio at 9 a.m., it will be time for Owerri Tomato, the freshest, as she calls herself. She will be right here, and she will be bringing you Wetin Dey Happen. And that's when she looks at everything that's happening in our society. Well, today being Friday, it's the end of the week, and it's a holy day. So this is the day when we have our Islamic belt. And that happens starting from about 10 a.m. It goes all the way until 3 p.m. And that is the time when we will have our Hausa broadcast. And that starts at 3 p.m., goes all the way to 4 p.m. Right after that, Udeme George will be here for Citizen Sports. And you know what Udeme George says? He says that when he roars, all other sports shows go into hiding. So Udeme will be here with his team at 4 p.m. for Citizen Sports. You don't want to miss that. Now, this is Friday, and so this is the day when we officially begin our indigenous language broadcast. And that kicks off right after our sports show. We'll have Olenle and Baba K will be here with our Yoruba program. And of course, he'll be here giving us the best of that. And very exciting program. It's interesting. Have you been listening to The Melting Pot? Well, if you have been listening to The Melting Pot, it's actually a fulfillment of the promise of Citizen FM that what we do here is bringing people together through communication. Nigeria is a country with well over 300 ethnic groups. As a matter of fact, we do have some languages that have been lost to time. I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was telling me about Nigerian languages that are no longer spoken by anyone anymore. But these languages have been documented. They used to exist even as recently as 50 years ago. So we have to preserve and protect our heritage. But beyond that, we do have to work together. Let's not allow our ethnic identities to take over our national identity. And I know the temptation is really great because sometimes it's comforting. It's comforting to take solace in our ethnic groups. But if we do that to the detriment of our nationality, then all of a sudden our ethnicity has become a cancer to our national coexistence. So both of them have to exist side by side, and it's up to us to make that happen. Now, Citizen FM is contributing its quota to that, and through the Melting Pot is helping even divorce rituals, our death rituals. Everything that makes us addressing ethnic stereotypes. When we do that, that's it. The funny thing about stereotypes is they're not entirely untrue because there's probably a reason why people tend to feel that way, but it's not the whole story. It's a bit of an oversimplification. Take time to understand each other, understand our perspectives. Can we really get to where we're coming from? So, you know what? I'm proud to be Nigerian. I'm probably one of those Nigerians who did not have the privilege of growing up in their indigenous environment, but I had the blessing of being born in another culture. There was a tradition at the time. I don't know how many people today still practice such traditions, but here is what my parents told me. There was a tradition. They used to live in the junior staff quarters of the university at the time, because my father was a young lecturer, my mother was a young nurse, and they were raising a young family, or rapidly growing family. They had 4 other children before me. And they told me that there was this custom that within that compound, when a child is born, it's considered the child of the compound. So during the naming ceremony, it was a custom for everybody of different ethnic extraction to come and give the child a name. And it so happens that in the estate that we lived in, there were people who were of Yoruba extraction, there were people who were Hausa, and there were people who were Igbo, just from different parts of the country. And during my naming ceremony, even though my formal and official name is and remains Stanley Bentu, my cultural name is Nanfuang, which means God protect. And I think that stemmed from the fact that I was the only male child born. And, basically when I was born, my parents closed shop. This was a time in our culture where male children were well sought after. And so there was all of that happening. But beyond that, I got a name from the Yoruba community. They actually named me Rotimi. And I also got a name from the Hausa community. They called me Balarabe. And they also called me Tanku. So I have names from different cultures. Recently, I visited Delta State and I was in Asaba. And they also decided to give me a name. And the name they gave me was Ifeanyi. And I feel very proud of these Nigerian names that I have. So I could never talk bad about my country. If there are people who are bringing our country down, let us address those individuals. Let us not say, what a country. I would never say, Nigeria is a beautiful country. It's a gift. For you to have a country where you have so much oil resources, natural resources, great weather. Come on. It's a gift. If you go to Norway or Sweden, harsh weather conditions there. Oh my goodness. But we've been blessed. The problem is, what are we doing with that blessing? And the individuals who are destroying Nigeria are not and do not represent Nigeria. They represent Nigeria's cancer. So if a patient is in hospital and has a cancer and that patient is John, will you say, what a human being? What's wrong with John? No, it is John that is the victim. Nigeria is the victim. So let's not talk down on our country. Let us save it. Let us fight for it. Well, one of the things that we are fighting right now is the cash crunch. It's very difficult to get cash. For me, I've decided to take a positive attitude towards the whole thing. I have not had cash for 2 weeks now. I think that I am living proof today that you can probably survive without cash. I've actually not owned any paper cash on my own for 2 weeks. And it comes at a price. Yeah, I've not been able to stop on the side of the road to get the odd people to do that in the last 14 days, and I really miss that. So these are some of the difficulties that we're going through. But let's not lose
Here's my proposal, baby. Love me, though the money is a maybe. And if your friends say that you crazy, what can they see?
Baby, you got me. Whether I want naira, whether I want million. Baby, you got me. Baby, you got me. You're the only one that I see, that I see, that I see. More than big you get money, I stay with you if you stay with me.
that I feel when you say you're my girl, I'm your king, I'm your mayor. I love you forever and a day more, a day more.
Whether I want me, baby, you got me. Baby, you got me. Whether I want naira, whether I want million, baby, you got me. Baby, you got me. You're the only one that I see. Only one that's more than you can carry. Whether or not you care for me, even if I stay with you, if you stay with me.
Well, this is Citizen FM 93.7, and you are listening to the Super Citizen at Sunrise. The time is 6:53. My name is Stanley Bentu, and I will be with you all the way until 9 a.m. And such a message coming from Waje and MI. Whether it's 1 naira, whether it's 1 million, we still have Nigeria, and we have to salvage it. We have to do the best that we can to build our country, because guess what? Nobody is coming here to do it for us. And even if you talk about Japa, the funny thing about Japa that nobody would tell you, it's not a realistic solution, because 200 million people. There is no country that can even take up to 2 against us being here. It is worth it for us to do the best that we can to stand firm and make sure that Nigeria works. Well, speaking of Nigeria and making Nigeria work, here is my concern for today. What I was thinking about today is why did we come to the Federal Capital Territory? I was at a round table just about 2 days ago with a civil society organization, Connected Development, and there was this talk about some of the statistics that they had come up with. And one of them showed that there was an influx of people into the Federal Capital Territory, into Abuja. As a matter of fact, they said, if you've noticed that there's probably increased traffic on our highways, and this is as a result of a lot of people moving to Abuja during the elections. I was just talking about Japa, finding out that Nigeria is still there, still ticking. Well, anyway, there are those who cannot leave the country and so decide that there is insecurity in their part of the country, and therefore they want to move to the Federal Capital Territory. And it's putting a tremendous amount of strain on the facilities here. First is traffic, and then there's accommodation, and then so many other things. It's quite expensive. I moved to the Federal Capital Territory exactly 10 years ago. In fact, it would be 10 years in about a month or two. So it's my decade, my first decade in the FCT. And when I first made the decision to move to the FCT, that was back in 2008, one of the major reasons was insecurity. You know? First of all, I lived in Zaria, and then we had religious crisis there. Then I moved to Jos, and then there was again ethnic and religious crisis. So, running away from that, you move to Abuja, and then you now have issues in Abuja. Well, that's another signal to you that you can't run away from your problems. You do have to stand firm and to solve them. But interesting problems and challenges that I discovered here in Abuja, and one of them is the cost of living. The cost of transportation, cost of getting yourself from one place to the other, sometimes being caught up in traffic. And I've lived both within town. I live within town now, but I've also lived out of town. I've lived in Karu. And being that at the time I was doing a morning show and I had to be in the office at 4 a.m. in the morning, and the roads were free then, but getting back from work, when I would close, and it would be about 5 o'clock, that would be when there was traffic. And on 2 occasions, this was the reason why I decided to move into town. On 2 occasions, because I was so sleepy, adrenaline reflexes are not sharp. On 2 occasions, I slept off behind the steering wheel. On the second occasion, what woke me was the loud blare. You know that when you have these trailers, these big, huge trucks, and they horn, and the traffic was moving, but I didn't move because I had fallen asleep behind the wheel. And then the next thing, I heard this loud blare of horn. And imagine when you're asleep and then you hear that, and this is what wakes you up. I was terrified. I was scared for my life. For a moment, I didn't know where I was, how I got there. And then it started coming back to me that I was driving, I was behind the wheel, and all of that. So it was a big price to pay, and I knew, okay, look, I can't do these long commutes. I have to get somewhere close to town, even if it's going to cost me more. So what is your choice? Are you choosing to live outside of town? Is that basically what you try to do so that you save on cost? Or do you believe that living in town is cheaper because it's a higher one-off cost, but it costs you so much less to get around and to get to your office? Well, Citizen FM sought to find this out, and here's this report about the cost of living here in Abuja, especially since Abuja is one of the fastest growing cities in Nigeria and even in the world, growing at the rate of about 6% every year. Between 2018 and 2021, Abuja grew by over 600,000 people.
Coming to work outside the FCT, it's very stressful. And the traffic you get to meet while coming to work from this place is so annoying and so crazy.
Abuja is the capital and 8th most populous city of Nigeria. The city is situated at the center of the country within the Federal Capital Territory. It is a planned city built mainly in the 1980s based on a master plan by International Planning Associates of 3 American planning and architectural firms made up of Wallace, Robert, McHarg and Toy. To Abuja, it is not surprisingly an expensive city today. The former FCT minister, Senator Bala Mohammed, in 2014 revealed that about 90% of people working in Abuja are living outside the federal capital city, and to this day, that figure has not really changed. This is because of the cost of living within the city center, which most of the middle and low-income earners cannot afford. An investigation revealed that most workers spend hours on the road from places like Mararaba, Ado, Masaka, Lugbe, Suleja, Dede, Madadala, and other cities outside the city center on a daily basis to get to work.
Going to work from outside the FCT is kind of hectic because you have to wake up by 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 a.m., and make sure you're done by 6. So I leave the house by 6 o'clock, and while I stay, it's very, very hard to get a bike, so I have to trek sometimes to the roadside. So imagine the time I leave the house. So it's not easy to live outside. Coming to work outside the FCT, it's very stressful. And the traffic you get to meet while coming to work from this place is so annoying and so crazy. You get to make traffic which makes you to go to work late and end up being queried.
It is cheaper to live outside Abuja, even though it comes along with a lot of stress.
Living in Abuja is not easy. Honestly speaking, it's not easy. Because, for example, when you are working in a ministry, earning 60,000, 70,000 as a starter level 8 or level 9, it's not easy to maintain, to pay rent, to feed yourself, to shelter yourself, and other expenses. So definitely there is need for the government to do something concerning it. But as a starter, level 8, level 9, level 10, it's not easy to live within the federal capital city. Even when you are living in the outskirts of Abuja, it's not easy. Even when you are living in Maraba, Yanya, Karu, Jukwe, and the rest of the outskirts and the rest of the satellite towns of Abuja, it's not easy. Because number one, if you don't have car, you enter car from maybe Maraba to Yanya, and from Maraba to town, I think it's 300 naira now, or 400 sometimes, due to fuel scarcity and other things. So definitely, working in Abuja as a starter in some ministries is not easy, except when you're working in juicy places.
For others who manage to live in the city center, this is how they cope with the high cost of rent and transportation.
I'm living in the village. Small money, 150,000. We collect one small house, toilet, water is inside. Magana Viakari, you enter normal transport. See, I'm in town now. I get to my office. No trouble.
Me, in my own case, is different because I'm a professional and I work in my own field. Because I work with FCDA and URP department. And at the same time, I'm also the site officer in charge of Lugbe. My salary is not much, but as a professional, I have a lot of opportunities in Abuja that made me to live and enjoy Abuja very well. Because apart from my job, even though government prohibit government prohibit us to work outside our jurisdiction of our working place, but how one can do, you must appreciate so many things. Number one, either to be a land business. Number two, either to be a consultant of your field, to be collecting EIA, SAR, feasibility studies, and the rest of them. This is how I cough. I have car, but today I decided not to come with the car. And I get everything within the jurisdiction of my work and the outside job that I used to do on a daily basis.
With a growing urban population, increasing construction cost, and declining household income, access to affordable housing is becoming more difficult for millions of residents in Nigeria, especially in the Federal Capital Territory. It remains to be seen what policies may be introduced to tackle this growing problem.
Citizen FM Abuja. Now we be the voice of the people. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hearts to build a nation of our dreams. Citizen FM, Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Make we join our hearts to build a nation of our dreams. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Your problem is my problem and my joy is your joy. Citizen FM, Citizen FM. Shake it, shake it. Citizen FM, Citizen FM.
93.7 Citizen FM.
Let's talk about it on our favorite radio station.
We're more than just a radio station. We are a part of your life.
Have you seen my beautiful baby? Have you seen my tomato baby? Oh, ELA, baby, suffer the cool me temper. Ada, baby, na sugar, sugar. Yo. Everybody they wait. I can't no more. If I didn't maka, let us do puna money kill amo. I don't want to beg him, yeah. I get them for everywhere. I don't know the lack of that. I get them for up and down. Baby, na tomato, baby. Too fresh like morning wine. Ada welele. Iyo coco. Everybody they wait. Utakene no more. If I did maka, better soup na money kilamo. Bekem ya. Ada. Everybody they wait, I wait you. I can't no more. If I didn't
.7 Citizen FM.
Let's talk about it on our favorite radio station.
We're more than just a radio station. We are a part of your life.
Rush, Everton. So I had to buy naira at the black market to do that.
It's interesting that this new term has joined our vocabulary. You have to buy naira.
And now we have, okay, let's go. It's not for radio.
And then,
this morning as I was coming out as early as after 5 a.m., still had people already queuing on the ATM terminals, and I was wondering, did they slip
of the or recirculation of the old 200 naira notes? That should save it. I normally don't carry a lot of cash. 2,000 to 5,000 is enough for me. It's something that Bill Buhari's broadcast on return of the old 200 naira notes. There are lots of riders here. Buhari. New cash policy legacy is a weapon against insecurity and corruption and vote buying. Well, circulation. We also have another headline, countdown to the 2023 elections, navigating tension-soaked, violence-prone campaigns. There's been a lot of tension and violence in Nigeria, very worrisome for a lot of people. Then we now move on to the next newspaper, which is The Punch. The headline on The Punch reads, General Buhari's address. We also have riders here. The rider says President illegalizes 1,500 cash with Supreme Court likely. Governors states dare Buhari and order citizens to spend all notes. Naira scarcity worsens at banks' ATMs. Other headline says the police hand over illegal arms and ammunition. You'll find the details of that story in The Punch. We also move on to the Nation newspaper. The Nation Supreme Court ruling. So quite a number of people seem to interpret the president's action as a disobedience of the Supreme Court. We now have one headline connected to politics. Ibadan stands still for Tinubu. So the campaign trail of Bola Ahmed Tinubu moves on. Went to Ibadan yesterday and that was quite an outing. And then we have Obi's rise in NOI and ANAP polls. So these pollings have continued and Obi continues to come top. But I saw an interview with Kwankwaso, who said that these polls were fictitious, they were false, that the sample sizes were too small.
And that the polls were dangerous.
Yeah, he believes the polls are dangerous. The Daily Trust has this headline, Buhari out to truncate democracy. This is according to Ganduje, the Kano State governor. And then on to the Vanguard. Naira policy, get saboteurs arrested and tried, Buhari tells the CBN. So these are some of the stories that we are looking at. Well, we will start with this one from the Daily Trust. Naira redesign, Buhari is out to truncate democracy. And this is coming from none other. Abuja has alleged that the Naira redesign policy of President Muhammadu Buhari is aimed at truncating Nigeria's democracy. Now, he spoke late Wednesday in Kano when he met with the Forum of Former Parliamentarians, Northwest Zone, that visited to intimate him on their resolve to support the presidential ambitions of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress. Now, Kano State is one of the states before the Supreme Court that is challenging the legality of the policy. And Ganduje's allegations come in the wake of the hardships of Nigerians and what Nigerians are passing through in accessing the new 200 Naira and 500 and 1,000 Naira notes. And President Buhari had given an address to Nigerians yesterday, where he said the Naira swap was meant to tame inflation and amongst other infractions. But the Kano State governor is previously not known for openly criticizing President Buhari, as he had been one of the people that worked to sell the president to the electorate. But he did say that it was unfortunate that despite the collective efforts that have been made by the APC to ensure Buhari's election victories in 2015 and 2019 after several losses, that the president had resolved to pay the party and those who supported him back by destroying the party that brought him to power. I'll take a quick quote from him. Imagine someone that had been contesting without winning elections until after a merger was formed. He won the election, spent 4 years, and he recontested again. He won, and now he's about to go, is doing nothing but destroy the party that elected him. Lawrence, do you think that the Kano State governor has a point?
I think, Stanley, first the gloves are off. No pretense again.
No pretense.
Yes, and the players know this game. You know, when the initial criticism that trailed the Naira redesign, a lot of the leadership of the party shied away from attacking the president directly. They went for the head of the CBN governor. Yeah. They did everything possible to insulate the president from the criticism. But now it's obvious that, well, let the game begin. And I would not be surprised if other governors follow this trend and start to openly criticize the president, who is also the leader of their party. And well, let's see how this goes. Because, Stanley, it's a heavy statement if you accuse a sitting president of trying to truncate democracy. That is quite serious. It's not something you take lightly. You can imagine somebody who is a social media critic saying this. You know, well,
yes, the reaction from the APC has been varied, but I think to a large extent distancing themselves from this part. And it's probably politics, because the presidency would tell you this is good for the country. And even if we're going to do this at a political cost, we're willing to bear the cost. Obviously, the party is not willing to bear the political cost on the eve of an election. All right, I think we do have some calls coming in, so we will go ahead and open up the lines. This is Citizen FM 93.7, and you are listening to the Super Citizen at Sunrise. My name is Stanley Bentu. If you wish to join the conversation, feel free to do 7081822220205 or 0808222037. All right. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Could you tell us your name, where you're calling from? Oh dear, I think we missed that call. Please feel free to call back. We have another caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Could you tell us your name, where you're calling from?
Yes, I'm Isa Shuku, calling you from Masaka.
Okay, good morning, Isa. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, thank you.
What is happening with what Gandhi said is God that is answering Nigerian prayer. The APC have destroyed everything that Nigeria have as a standard. So God is helping us to open our eyes about 7 days or every day that we do the election, so that Nigeria will not make any wrong choice again. It's God that is fighting for Nigeria. It is not anybody. So whether they accuse themselves or the nations themselves, everything has been awful. And God will never allow Nigeria to enter into that mess again. Amen.
Okay, thank you very much, Isa. Interesting perspective there. I don't know whether this is divine or whether it's back and forth of politicians.
I think it's politicians at their games. Sometimes we don't take this too seriously. Sometimes.
Yeah, well, it would be interesting to see how this plays out. The president is digging in. Obviously, it's non-stop.
And Stanley, don't forget that this is an election year and the president is not going to be on the ballot. Politicians calculate ahead, 4 years ahead. They are looking at 4 years ahead. They are not looking at this month. So already they are making their permutations. And obviously, for some of them, the president is no longer in a position to decide so many things. So they are already looking at which camp to pitch their tent.
Which is why, I've heard a lot of pundits say or make the argument that, the timing, that the policy is good, but the timing seems a bit off. But I'm wondering whether for the president, the timing is perfect. Because if you're going to make a decision that is going to come at a massive political cost, what better time to do it than when you have no more elections to run?
Even at the cost of your party losing. But when people say the timing, one of the reasons the president and the CBN prefer for embarking on this exercise was because of the election.
All right, let's take this next story. This is from The Punch. Naira redesign. APC must take responsibility for its policy failures. This is according to the PDP candidate Abubakar Atiku. Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has asked the All Progressives Congress to take full responsibility for the chaos of the implementation of its policy, including the Naira redesign, which has unleashed hardship on Nigerians. Now, he made the call in a statement that was signed on
to give that distinction between, this is just the CBN policy implementation. It has nothing to do with the president. The president was missed.
Thank you very much. Happy to hear from you guys this morning.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I don't have a problem with this cashless policy. It's a very good regulation. We have them everywhere. We don't have any problem. But this is an eye-open to me. I have certain questions to ask those that are taking the federal government to court. Where were these people when ASU was on 8-month strike and they never took the government to court? They were silent. That's to tell you that these people are just fighting for their own interest. And whatever that affects them, that's what they fight together. What is the work of the DSS and the rest? These people. Go after them. Thank you. Let me just stop here and give others a chance to.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. God bless Nigeria, Kennedy. Grateful. Lines are still open. Feel free to call us at any time. 0903-2229-797, 0818-2222-205, or 0808-2222-037. Much ado about the new Naira policy. This is the last story. We'll be taking on that during this review. Naira policy in the Vanguard. Get saboteurs arrested and tried, Buhari tells the CBN. And just a few details from that. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the Central Bank of Nigeria to intensify collaboration with anti-corruption agencies to check the activities of those bent on frustrating the smooth implementation of the currency redesign policy. And he actually asked the Apex Bank to ensure the arrest and prosecution of those out to sabotage the Naira redesign. And he gave this order while addressing the nation during that is. All this resistance, to what extent is it going to affect us as a people?
I think it's clear that the CBN is not thinking of backing down.
All right,
you have a call there?
We do have a call. Let's just quickly take that, and I'll come right back to you, Lawrence. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, John David. How are you doing?
Fine, long time.
Yes, it's been a while.
Good morning, John. How are you today?
You guys know
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yes. I just want to comment. Any government, anyone that is in government now that is saying that this policy is no good whatsoever, they are just doing it for their own budget. Because why? Immediately when Buhari entered into government, as to say, they rise petroleum from 87 naira to 147. None of them said something. Also, one on strike for 8 months. None of them said something. And before this policy comes to say, I think they sat down and discussed, and they didn't know, they didn't study it first. The feasibility study to study how the thing will go around, the merit and the merit. They just say, okay, it's good. They were overwhelmed. Now that the thing is not going as the way they expected, they are saying that the policy is not good and Mr. President is not with them. They are just doing it for themselves. They are not together with formers. And I remember vividly when they were campaigning 2019, change. So this is the change. God bless citizens Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. God bless SMO. God bless Stanley. God bless Mr. Tony. Bye-bye.
Lawrence, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for the blessings. God bless Nigeria indeed. Yeah, well, it seems a lot of Nigerians are not buying the position of these governors, and they're stating a lot of other matters of grave national emergency, and there was no response from these quarters. But here is something that is going to directly affect them. And then there is all this passion about doing this. But, okay, what happens if the president is proved right in the long run? What happens if the policy succeeds?
Nothing.
In the long run.
Everyone will move on and people will justify it. Oh, we had to do this in the interest of the people.
It will be remembered that the political party distanced itself from the policy when it was unpopular. Or when they felt it was unpopular.
But Stanley, sometimes our memories don't last that long as a nation. Remember, I always bring this issue of the subsidy controversies over the years. You remember that there were people identified as anti-subsidy. Everything, anytime any government in power just introduce that, people will shout and everything.
Yeah,
but
let's go back to 2011. The Jonathan administration implemented the removal of subsidy. The nation was literally shut down.
Exactly.
Including a lot of people who are in power today, said this is bad for the people, it's anti-people. Then we went back to implementing that policy. And today, this was 2011, this is 2023, we still have that problem. And now we're looking back and saying, maybe we should have done it back in 2011.
Exactly.
Do you see this as one of those things
Exactly.
where we will look back in retrospect and say, maybe we should have just done this back then?
Exactly. Exactly. That's it. And by then, when you now have different people in government, maybe the people who are opposed to this now will now be in government that time. They'll now say, it was because the timing was not ripe that time. We said that they were just like the people who are saying now, the Jonathan administration could not be trusted to implement the subsidy removal.
Of subsidy.
But now see, politicians will always
As
have
a matter
excuse.
of fact, at that time, I think even the current president said that there was no subsidy.
Exactly.
That it was a scam. And we still have the petrol problem. It hasn't completely gone away. It's eased off a bit, but no better than it was since February of last year. So it's been 1 year. And maybe that is part of what has exacerbated the problem that we've been facing now.
And Stanley, if we did not have election in a few days' time, will there be this resistance from the governors?
From the governors. Good question. All right, let's look at another story still in the Punch. Solve trade barriers. This is the World Bank now telling Nigeria and others. In order to reap the benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Area, non-tariff barriers and hurdles affecting cross-border goods crossing must be addressed, according to the World Bank Group. Now, in a new report titled, Can African Trade Integration Be a Game Changer?, the Washington-based bank noted that the AFCFTA, which hopes to connect 54 countries with a combined population of 1.3 billion and a GDP of $3.4 trillion, has several challenges to overcome. So African businesses, according to the World Bank, should also see the opportunities, as its research suggests that the agreement has the potential to bring significant economic and social benefits in the form of faster economic growth and higher incomes and less poverty. So there is the African Trade Agreement, free trade and all of that. Nigeria dragged its feet over that policy for quite some time before eventually joining in. So before we do an analysis of that, let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Lawrence.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, and your first paper you read, am I free to comment?
You didn't tell us your name.
But yes, please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Okay, this is Godwin Abuja, a good man in Abuja.
Okay, Godwin. Thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I want to quickly say, you see, these governors that are, the APC governors that are against the president's policy, I think they should team up with the president. They should align with him in order to make their party, to sell out their party properly to the public. This is party that has always applauded government's policy, whether good or bad, even though the poor president man wants to.
Very much. All right, let's take this call as well. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
All right, great to hear from you. Could you tell us your name, where you're calling from?
To install their switches there, to cover their track. Some are going for a second term. Definitely, they need money to prosecute their election. Members of the National Assembly, some are entitled to 70 million, some are entitled to what? They need money in cash. So now they realize the fact that the target was against a particular person, but now it's not a general thing. That's why all this sensitive process from the governor. And if you look at it critically, the idea, the audio blame was on Emefiele, the governor of the central bank. One of these governors were even bold to approach that here. This project was Mr. President's project. But now it's like they've gotten to a particular level. Say, okay, Mr. President, if you can now defy the ruling of the Supreme Court, we do now do one of those things. Then do that here. Because 2019 election was heavily monetized, allegedly. Allegedly, it was heavily monetized. 2015 election was highly monetized. But people connected people to PDP's money and voted APC in 2015. So the election of 2019 was highly monetized, allegedly. But now, what is going to happen now? So the governors that did all those things, you don't want them to now assist for the politics. So Mr. President was deceived to allow this thing to happen after this thing. As Mr. President did this in June last year, or May last year, we will not be enjoying.
Okay, all right, I do.
We should allow the policy to work. And you ask Mesto there that at the end of the work of 50 policy now becomes the one who celebrates the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, who is going to bring the souls that are gone into this policy, this bad policy? Those people that are dead, we're going to bring them. The woman that died because, pregnant woman that died because the husband could not access funds, some funds. Why is this government like this? This APC government? Why are they like this?
Okay, ID.
Coronavirus. They start all these palliatives. They start them. Why? But Mr. President, we voted for Mr. President, but people around Mr. President are not even helping matters. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
ID.
All right, we have quite a number of other callers on the line. Sorry for keeping you waiting, but please join us on 0903 2229797 or 0818 2222 205. If you can't reach any of those numbers, feel free to call 0808 2222 037. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Mr. Bentu. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Is that Sam?
Yeah, it's Sam from Apo.
Okay, great. Sam from Apo. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just like the last caller said, do you really want to take the statistics of those who have lost their lives as a result of this issue of government policy? Now, do you want to take statistics? Even in the hospital, people who have their own money, they want to use their money. They cannot get their money. Since 2 days ago, I've not been able to leave the house because even POS, you can't get money from POS. Those who are collecting the good money, they said if you have 10,000, they will give you 5,000 naira. That's what they are doing here in Abuja where we are living. So you can see the something is good, but it's not as if these people, the governor, it's not as if they are just saying these things. They are looking at them, talking about this. Mr. President is saying that anybody who flouts the order, the issue should be punished. If he actually believes in judiciary, why should he not obey the Supreme Court order? When they say let it not to flow together with the old naira note should flow together with the new naira note. Why should they cancel the distance and say okay, only 200 naira should exist? If actually he believes in the judiciary. So these are questions that are looking for answer. Understand? Then, please, today is Friday. Permit me to talk about this. What is it? This former minister of aviation.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It was the reason why they slammed 2 million naira and one of two broadcasting stations because of his talking, his lackadaisical attitude towards talking to other people anyhow. Now he has said again, now it's in the DSS custody. The broadcasting stations, they should, the regulatory body, which is a national broadcasting organization, they should also consider these broadcasting stations. They should not slap it, they should mix. Why should the mother hen blame the ground? Left the hawk that take away his stick and begin to blame the ground. If anybody says this is a broadcasting station, they should not blame the broadcasting station that aired it, they should go to the person who actually said the word.
All right, Sam. Just a quick explanation to this. Actually, the guidelines of our profession places the responsibility on us that if somebody says something out of turn, we are responsible to check it, and if we don't make attempts to check it, then that's when NBC will hold us responsible. We're not responsible for what they say, but we're responsible for how we react to it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Sam. God bless Nigeria. All right. Let's take this call. Hello. Good morning.
Hello, Stanley. Good morning.
Yeah. Apologies for keeping you waiting. Please.
Yeah, no problem, Stanley. I call was even picked before, but there is an interference on it. Lawrence, good morning.
Hello, buddy.
Happy New Year, Lawrence.
How are you?
Oh, it's Bod. Okay. But very great to hear from you. It's been a while.
Lawrence, I need 2K. Stanley, I need just 1,005. I beg. I think they call Labour House. Don't collect the money now. I beg.
No, we will transfer it to you.
We will transfer it to you.
I don't want transfer. It will hang. The network is not working. I need cash.
Oh boy.
Oh Lord.
Lord.
Yes.
At times, you don't wish for so. At times, they say the tongue is very small, but it has power. You know, when we talked about this naira redesigning, I say something about it 3 months before the president came out and said something about it. I was saying, I think for all these corruption issues to just stop, there should be a redesign so that these naira should just be abandoned in the hands of these men who stole our money and pile it in their house. I never need to turn out to become something like this. I actually say something about this redesigning. 3 months with Lawrence, I think on normal this money show like this, I was really saying before Mr. President can leave, if he can have an idea of redesigning the naira. But the way he's going, the policy is okay. The implementation is just the problem. Nobody is against the policy. Everybody should get it. We are not against it. But the way he's going about it is making the POS people, it's not the same them that set up the POS, so that those who don't have employment can still get something to go home and still live, so that the issue of insecurity can be minimized in some areas. But the POS people now, they are even finding very deep. The people you see at the ATM, most of them are POS dealers. Not even an average Nigerian one is 2,000, 5,000, or 10,000. It's the POS people that are even making it difficult for us to even access the little money that are put in the ATMs. So,
but the argument from the POS people is they go through a lot to get this money.
Yes,
And,
now I know.
If they were to charge the regular charge, it wouldn't justify the effort.
Yes, now they are going through a lot, Stanley. They are going through a lot. What am I even trying to say, Lawrence? The thing is this: there is a political undertone about the whole thing. Emefiele contested for the president. That was the first mistake this administration made. Immediately, Emefiele has made an intention that he wants to contest. He would have resigned. He didn't get it. It's a payback time. He has an opportunity now to pay back the APC in their own coin. That is why you see the political parties, that the people who are in government, because it's going to affect them at the election. Imagine, Stanley, you going through this hardship now. Will you vote for APC? Being enlightened, except the man that is not enlightened, you can come. But as enlightened as me and you, will you vote for APC? That is why I say Rufai is on top of his voice, shouting, because he knew that it's going to affect them seriously at the election. Mr. President, I think if he had made the whole policy a bit better, than making the currency available for people. I think Falana said that the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction about this whole thing.
But I'm also looking at possibilities. Could it be possible that the CBN printed enough currency? But we have a culture of naira hoarding. But that these top people, remember in the early days when a lot of banks were hiding the new notes and giving it only to the super rich. So maybe the super rich have now taken and hoarded a lot of this, and then there isn't enough in circulation.
The money.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a possibility in that. In 1984, he did the same thing. Nigeria went through a lot. Why will you come back? Why will you not look back and say, oh, I've done this before? People went through hardship. What will I do now to make it a little bit different from what I did in 1984? My uncle, my dad's younger brother, went to jail in 1984. He never knew the money had been stopped. He went to buy suya with it. There's a particular place where people normally say suya. They hold him and he went to jail for three months. He called me 3 weeks back and said, we are going to have it rough. That his money is not going anywhere. What he had in 1984, he won't have it there. I was just a little boy then. He told me the story. Why will you do the same make the same mistake? Some years you did it, some decades ago you did it, and now you are making the same mistake. But all the same, just like what people said. Let's see what the whole day, since he said the 2,000 naira, the 200 naira is made available. Let's see what the whole thing will go about it. But all the same is a good policy. But let's see what the days ahead holds for us. Good morning.
Thank you very much. It's interesting. Like, a lot of people seem to feel it's a good policy in theory, in principle, but some people criticize maybe the implementation of the policy. Some people criticize the timing, but there are others still who would say there is simply no way you can implement this policy without some degree of pain. And the problem is it's hard to tell whether the pain we're feeling is as a result of change or whether it's as a result of poor implementation. There is actually no way to tell. You can only tell with the outcome. So you can only tell with the benefit of hindsight, maybe 6 months from now, 1 year from now, if it leads to a fundamental shift in the nature of our economy, then it was successful and it was worth the pain. If six months or 1 year from now, we are still struggling with it, then it's poor implementation. So really, objectively, the jury is out on whether this was a good policy.
And Stanley, if you also know that there are several reasons for this policy. So we cannot pick one. Even if you look at, for example, out of the 5 reasons the CBN gave, for example, if at the end of this exercise, just one of them is achieved, will you say that was a success?
Will you say that was a success?
If at the end of the day, 2 or 3. So depending on what you look at.
What do you define as success?
Success, exactly. So if at the end of the day, for example, after the election or during the election, people find out that monies did not flow freely as it used to be, the incidence of vote buying was greatly reduced, will we now say, we achieved a lot? Or if at the end of the day, 6 months from now, we have a culture of spending less cash, and depending more on electronic business and everything, how are we going to react? So it depends on what we are looking at the end of the day.
Or if the stifling of funds leads to the emergence of your preferred presidential candidate.
Exactly.
Would you now still feel it's a bad policy?
Exactly. And also, if the CBN, if they were to re-implement the program from the beginning, would they have taken this route? Would they have included, because some people have even queried the inclusion of the 200 naira note for the redesign in the first place. A lot of people say, why not just...
I also want to say something, because I heard somebody on our station yesterday talking about, the naira was repainted, not redesigned. It was redesigned.
Exactly.
As a designer, I studied industrial design. And I just want to put this out there so that we don't go back and forth about semantics. There are three basic elements of design. One, if you are anybody who studied fine art or design or architecture, one is space. The other is line. And the third is color. So color is an element of design. These three things come together to form what we call design. So if I change, and when we do our designs, we have what you call the color scheme stage. So one color scheme and another color scheme are considered two different designs. So changing a color is, in the professional sense of it, described as a redesign. Is actually described as a redesign.
Exactly.
Just putting that out there from the perspective of a professional designer. I know some people, for you to call it a redesign, you have to change the line. The actual design, where you see the 1 naira, 5 naira, that is what we call line. Those are the lines that make up the design. The space is the note in itself. But after the lines, there's also the color. That is the color scheme, which is a critical element of a design. So if you change a color scheme, you can no longer consider that the same design. It's considered a different design.
Noted from the professional. So that's the way it is, and let's just see how this thing goes, and let's see.
And you know why that is? Because it can cost you more to produce or less. If I use a monochromatic color scheme, that design can cost me less to produce than a polychromatic color scheme. So they are different, really.
Noted.
Just putting that out there. All right, final words, because coming up next, we have our open mic, and Philemon Ejekuko will be joining me for that to talk about what has been bothering him all week. And
I can scream it loud for the whole world to hear. And if they call me crazy, I don't care. You should know I won't go. That's the last thing you should worry about. Stay with me till eternity. And ask only one question: will people fall in love in heaven? In heaven. Hope we'll still be in love in heaven. Hey, in heaven. Do people fall in love in heaven until we're old?
Mission for Development Journalism, Citizen FM 93.7 presents Citizen Speaks. Citizen Speaks is a program that serves as a platform where the government meets the governed. It is a general-purpose hourly interactive program which focuses on the key sectors of the Nigerian state, including the economy, governance, security, religion, socials, transportation, health, military-civil relationships, intercultural relationships, and humanitarian services. Join us every Tuesday at 2 p.m. for Citizen Speaks and interacts with policymakers, technocrats, public servants, corporate individuals, members of the Federal Executive Council, heads of public institutions, and other issues affecting their well-being and nation building. Don't miss Citizen Speaks, only on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. It promises to be a listener's delight.
When you are young, life is so exciting. But what happens when you get older? Things start to slow down, and that is the wrong time to be broke. Everyone aspires to work and retire well, but millions of people just aren't saving nearly enough to give them the standard of living that they hope for when they do. But a pension plan makes up for this by providing financial protection when your energy is not what it used to be. You worked for your pension. Now your pension will work for you. Trust Fund Pensions Limited presents The Pension Pot. Listen to The Pension Pot and learn all you need to know about organizing your finances to live a rich, full life well into your latter years. Join me, Stanley Bentu, on The Pension Pot, as it comes your way every Wednesday at 2 p.m. only on Citizen FM 93.7. Trust Fund Pensions Limited is here to help you manage and grow your retirement savings so you remain prepared for uncertainties and are able to fulfill your post-retirement aspirations. The Pension Pot. Don't miss it.